Welcome back to Out of the Park Baseball. In this episode, we will see our 87-win Oakland Athletics take on the 97-win Los Angeles Angels in a best of champion ALCS for a trip to the World Series. Here's a look at the Angels. You'll notice a former Oakland A, Mauricio Albarrán, is there, although I don't know how long he'll be in the lineup for. They have this guy, Billy Laurie, who is, their normal third baseman. He has a day-to-day injury, and so it's yet to be seen whether he will play through that or not. They do have some injuries beyond that. Jared Eggers, their star shortstop, injured. Steve Hill, their star center fielder, injured. So the main cog in this offensive machine is going to be Chester Gurton, the reigning AL MVP, coming off a second 50-home run season. They also have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in the middle of their lineup. That's a look at the Angels. Oh, yeah, they also have Emmanuel Clase and Mason Miller in their bullpen, with closer Housie set to come back soon. Robbie Snelling and Noble Meyer are in the rotation. Those were two big free agent signings from this past offseason. You can see their contracts there, and that's a big reason why they have made this leap into winning the division. They also have Jeff Harden, a great young right-hander in their rotation, and left-hander Jesus Ortega to round things out. We will start Game 1 on the road in Anaheim. It'll be Tyler Pitzer on the mound to take on Robbie Snelling in Game 1 of this ALCS. It'll be the lefty Dave Sochi to face off against the lefty Snelling. And Sochi, great start, hammers this one just off the top of the wall there in the left center gap. That will be at least two. And yes, it's a leadoff double for Dave Sochi in this game. And we're kicking in action right away. Next up is going to be Daniel Cuvée. He's going to hit it to the left side, and that will get through the left side of the infield. Signal Dave Sochi to round third and try to score. With no outs, I'm going to say no. So we will leave runners on the corners with no one out just yet. Next up will be Chris Greer. He's swinging first pitch, and he's going to hit one up the middle. Sochi coming home, and they will find the out at first base as Cuvée advances to second. 1-0 your score, and it'll be a runner in scoring position for Jeremy Okoro, who strikes out. And then finally Chris Baker, who's going to hit one up the middle, and that will be an infield hit. So it will be runners on the corners, 2 outs here for Cam Collier in the first, who's going to hit one to right, and that will get down, and that will be a second run in this ball game already for us. Cuvée is going to third, and he will make it. So a lot of runners on the corners. Next up is the second baseman, McFarland, and he will strike out, but we score 2 runs in the first. Bottom of the second, runner on second, 2 outs from Mauricio Albarrán, a former Oakland A farmhand. And the ball is going to get away from Forrest, and that will allow the runner to advance to third. But Albarrán strikes out through 2, the score 2-0. All right, we're moving on to the bottom of the third here, and I must have missed it, but Tyler Pitzer is injured, and that is with diagnosis pending. An unbelievable turn of events here. Our ace is injured with diagnosis pending, so not even confirmed like a day-to-day thing. He could be out for the rest of the series, for the rest of the season. So we are going to have to get someone warming up here. And I guess it'll be Alexis Cisneros coming into the game after 2 innings of Pitzer, and we'll use him as a follower so he paces himself more like a starter. Bottom of the 5th, Cisneros still in. He faces off against Mauricio Albarrán, and that'll be a ground out, 1 away. Wilman Diaz up next. That's the shortstop. He will ground out to his shortstop counterpart. That's Benson Vango for the second out. And then it's back to the top of the order with Aguilar, the second baseman, who strikes out. So Cisneros really easing into this game, doing a great job in Pitzer's absence. Tricky situation here. We took out Cisneros to allow Jamie Bennett to face these lefties, and now we have runners on the corners, 1 out for Stepter, the center fielder. And Stepter hits it to left center field. That is going to give the Angels a lead. An unbelievably clutch hit. And the game just turned sour once we turn to the bullpen. Top of the 7th here, 2 outs, no one on for Chris Greer. So we're trying to get our lead back. And he will walk. That will bring up Okoro. And he'll hit one to the right side. So we've got maybe potential 2-out rally here. Greer is going to third, and Okoro is going to second. And they will both be safe. So it's Chris Baker here with a chance to drive in these 2 runs. We are going to get someone warmed up in the bullpen. That someone is going to be Danny Baudanza. But it's Chris Baker now with a big opportunity here. And Chris Baker hits it hard. Get out, ball. Get out, ball. Chris Baker onto the rocks. A huge home run for Chris Baker gives us the lead right back. 5-3 your score. Top of the 8th here. 1 on, 2 outs for Dave Sochi. And Sochi's going to send one to left, so we will have a couple base runners here. And it'll be Cuvée with a chance to tack on. And Cuvée hammers one opposite field. A huge home run for Daniel Cuvée. Gives us 3 more runs. The score is 8-3. Bottom of the 9th here. We poured it on with 4 more runs in the 9th, so he scores 12-4. Nick Robertson is in, and he will face Chester Girton, representing the final out potentially. And he will have a single up the middle. I'm not sure we've gotten Chester Girton out in this game. He's tough to deal with. That brings up Vladdy Jr., who strikes out. We take game 1 by a score of 12-4, but we lose Pitzer, and we also lose Pete Barker in the bullpen. We'll see what their injuries are. Moving on to game 2 here, we know Pete Barker's injury is day-to-day. That's 1 week. That is a mild calf strain. Pitzer we still don't know, and the longer that diagnosis is delayed, the less likely the news is to be good. But we can't really afford to worry about Pitzer for now. It'll be Mike Drake on the mound in game 2 to take on Jeff Harden. Both of these pitchers quite young, both of them only 24 years old. Liddell Hungo gets the start at shortstop, considering the righty on the mound. Bottom of the 5th, Mike Drake still in the game, only at 55 pitches. And that'll be a ground out by the catcher Gutierrez, 1 away. Next up is going to be Zavala, the right fielder. And he strikes out. And that'll bring up Alberon, the shortstop, who also strikes out. Through 5, still scoreless. Great work from Mike Drake. Top of the 6th, 1 out. Only 3 hits in this game so far. It's Chris Baker hitting against Harden. And he will walk, so that will be a base runner for Chris Greer. And Greer hits this one well, and it will drop in. I was worried at seeing Baker run there, but he read it all the way. The question is, will Greer get thrown out at second? And he will be. That is a crucial out on the base paths. And so it'll be a runner on third for Cuvée with 2 outs. And Cuvée smashes this one. Will the ballpark contain it? No, it will not. That is Cuvé's 2nd home run in as many games. We have broken the seal. 2-0 is our lead. Following Cuvée is Cam Collier. Oh, and Collier wants to go back-to-back. The bats have come alive here in the top of the 6th. 3-0 now the score. Jared Forrest batting in the top of the 7th with 1 out, no one on. That is a strikeout. And then it's back to the top of the order with Dave Sochi. And Sochi is going to hit this one to right field, and that is another home run for us. 4-0 the score here in the top of the 7th. Bottom of the 7th, got a little bit of a prickly situation here, although some wiggle room to work with. We've got runners on the corners, 1 out. Salcedo in the game now in relief of Mike Drake. And that ball is going to be hit to left, and it will get down. So that will score the first run of the ball game for the Angels. That'll bring up Mauricio Alberon with 2 runners on. And he is also going to hit... Oh, man, I really don't like this at all, Tim Salcedo. All right, I'm going to sub in Robbie Spector just because Salcedo hasn't had it clearly, and then we'll also warm up Jeff Grantland. But it's going to be Robbie Spector here with the bases loaded and only 1 out. And that will be a walk. Oh, man, come on. Come on, we can't let this happen. We can't let this happen. There is a 3-batter minimum, so he will have to face Aguilar and Gilbert. Bases loaded now for Aguilar, 1 out. And that is a big infield pop-up. That is going to be the 2nd out of the inning. Robbie Spector here pitching in some high leverage here. And it'll be Drew Gilbert. Gilbert to the right side. It gets through. It gets through the infield. The Angels have tied this game up in the 7th. We blow it. And we will have to visit the mound here and bring in Jeff Grantland. Maybe, a mistake to not have him in the game earlier, but it's Chester Girton, the danger man. And he hits one to the right side. And it also gets through off of Jeff Grantland. And the runner comes home, and it's 5 runs for the Angels. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. up next. And that will be a ground out to in the inning, but the damage is absolutely done. We lose our lead. Top of the 9th, 2 outs. We're going to bring in Chinchilla to pinch hit, but we are down to our final out against Clase. And that's going to be up the middle. A diving stop by the shortstop, and that will end the ball game. An unbelievable loss for us, and that ties the series up at 1 apiece. That was a tough pill to swallow right there. Drake was masterful, and then we turned it over to Salcedo, and then I just got cocky. I left in Salcedo for too long, brought in Spector when I should have had Grantland warming up all along, and even Grantland comes in and allows a hit that leads to Los Angeles winning this game. Emmanuel Clase with a 6-out save, and we blow what was a 4-run lead late. That was obviously a heartbreaking loss, and we do have the injury news on Tyler Pitzer. It is a day-to-day injury for 3 to 4 weeks, so that would be presumably a day-to-day injury for the rest of the playoffs. Now, the injury in question is a strained forearm, and that is listed as a moderate injury, specifically in his influences throwing, which I think is akin to his pitching. So the decision I have to make is, does an injured Tyler Pitzer that can pitch through it, is that better than Cisneros? And I've thought about it, and my answer is I would rather have Cisneros, and we're going to make a really difficult decision. We're going to put Tyler Pitzer on the injured list. And, I think that may very well end his season. That may very well end his time in Oakland. Hard way to go out. We're just in a tricky spot right here, and I can't believe we lost that second game. So Pitzer will go to the playoff injured list. And the injury replacement will be Ken Southard, who threw 6.2 innings for us in the regular season. Definitely a downgrade. After a much-needed off day and time to recoup after a difficult loss and the loss of Tyler Pitzer as well, we are back in Oakland for games 3, 4, and 5. This will be game 3. It'll be between Reed Detmers and Noble Meyer. One out here in the bottom of the first, it's Chris Baker, who hammers this one to center. And that will get down. That could be a triple for Baker as he rounds second. And the throw goes home, but Baker is at third. So it's a one-out triple for Baker. Greer's got to send him in. And Greer hits this one to left. Is it deep enough for Baker to tag? That ball is caught. Baker will tag, and we will score the first run of the game. Top of the second here, we got Reed Detmer some run support. But Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has a base hit. That'll be the first Angels base runner. And Reed Detmer's injured on the play. You got to be kidding me. The trainers examined his left shoulder. They have to take him out of the ball game. We've already put one starting pitcher on the injured list. So we'll have to bring in Pete Barker cold yet again. And he'll be used as a follower, so we'll need some volume out of him. But he comes in with a runner already on base, and it's Stepter, the center fielder, here in the second. And he hits this one to the right side. Guerrero thinking about going first to third. He will, but I do think we will get the runner out at second. So it'll be a runner on third, one out for Gutierrez, the catcher. And he's going to send this one to left, but that will hang up there. I think it's deep enough for Guerrero to tag, though. And yes, he should have no problem scoring. And the game is tied at 1 apiece. That'll bring up Zavala, who hits one to the right side. And we are able to get out of it, but the score is now tied. Top of the fifth, it's Tyjon Stepter to lead off. And he's going to fly out against Barker, one away. Barker was injured on the play. The trainers examine his right shoulder, and they have to take him out of the ballgame. We can see that Barker's injury is a shoulder strain. That is a recovery time of 4 days, so he'll be fine to make the next start. Detmers, meanwhile, has sore shoulder. That comes with a 1 week recovery time, and that influences throwing moderate, so he will not be able to pitch for that week. It's such a tough situation right here, and we have to bring in someone else cold. And that someone is going to be either Terrio or Southard. And I'm going to drop in Pat Terrio cold. I think this is the first playoff appearance he's made for us. Top of the 8th here, we will leave Robertson in. Grantland is warming. And certainly just getting enough innings to add up to 27 outs is an issue, especially with 3 games in a row here. Alberon is going to hit it back to the pitcher. But that will be an infield hit. And they will bring in Wilman Diaz, the shortstop, to bat next. To the left side, Collier throwing across the diamond. That's the second out of the inning. And then it's back to Aguilar. This will be the last batter for Robertson. And that will be a strikeout. We move on to the bottom of the 8th. Bottom of the 8th here, 2 outs. It'll be Cam Collier against Clase. And Collier rips that one to the first baseman, Gurton, who makes the play. We are going to get Grantland up, and it'll be Jeremy Okoro. And Okoro hits it to left, and that ball will get down. And now we have to make another stolen base decision. No, I'm not going to steal here. We'll let Chris McFarland hit. And McFarland powers one to the gap. Get down, ball. Get down, ball. Run, Jeremy Okoro. Run. Run, Jeremy Okoro. Come home. It's a double. And on his way home is Okoro. He scores. And McFarland is safe at third. A huge 2-out 8th inning triple for McFarland. It's Hungo up next. He strikes out, but we have a save opportunity. Top of the 9th here. It's all cut out for Jeff Grantland, but he'll have to face Gilbert, Gurton, and Guerrero, and then potentially Stepter after, so it's going to be tough. It's his inning, though. He is our guy. And that will not make it easy for us, but it's a line out to Okoro. 1 away. Chester Gurton, the danger man. Grantland pitching to him, and he strikes out. Big strikeout there. And that brings up Guerrero. The 0-2 to Guerrero. And that's a strikeout for Grantland. We win this game 2-1 thanks to the heroics from McFarland. With Pitzer on the injured list, as well as Barker and Detmer suffering injuries within this game, our pitching depth is kind of in shambles, but we get the win 2-1. With Pitzer already ineligible to even pitch in the World Series, we're going to leave Detmers on the roster. He has a day-to-day moderate injury for throwing, so I don't think he would be able to make his next scheduled start necessarily, but we need to keep him around, so he's hurt. We can't really use him, but he's going to stay on the roster. Game 4 coming at you from Oakland. It'll be a couple lefties on the mound. Jeremy Shia versus Jesus Ortega, and Ortega definitely their weakest starter potentially here. We'll see if we can get to him early. One of those guys who will try to help is Mike Bencivengo, who gets the start at shortstop in lieu of Liddell Hungo. All right, first real scoring threat of the game. It's the bottom of the second, 1 out, but 2 runners on for Chris McFarland, the hero of the previous game, and he hits this ball hard. That is going to be a fly out to Stepter. No chance, not interested in tagging there. You don't make the third out at third base. That'll bring up Mike Bencivengo, the shortstop today. And Bencivengo hits this one. And now it's a question of if we can score from second. Runner is coming home, and they will be safe. I believe that was Cuvée scoring. And so we'll have runners on second and third in a 1-0 ball game for Jared Forrest, who strikes out, but we take an early lead. Top of the third. Now it's a scoring threat for the Angels, who have a runner on second and no outs, and they're back to the top of the order with Aguilar. And that ball is going to get down, and most likely that will score the run. Nope, the runner is going to hold at third. I'm surprised by that decision there. I'm going to get someone warmed up in this game, even though that's probably not the smartest thing to do. That someone is going to be... I'm thinking here. I'm going to go Ken Southard. But we'll let Jeremy Shia pitch for now. And that ball is hit deep by Drew Gilbert. That most likely will score the run. And yes, that'll tie the game up at 1 apiece. We'd like to keep that to only 1 run against Gurton. All right, after that run, it's runners on first and second for Guerrero. It's a tie ball game now. And Guerrero to the right-hand side. Can they turn 2? Yes, they do. Great play by Cuvée. We move on to the bottom of the third in a tie ball game. Bottom of the 5th here, 1 on, 1 out in a 1-1 ball game. It'll be Cuvée to face the bulk guy, Sam Bright. And that's Forrest on second. That's a strikeout. And then it'll be Chris Greer. Oh, and Chris Greer hammers this one. That is an absolute no-doubter for Chris Greer. We knew it as soon as it left the bat. A 432 home run to give us a lead 3-1. Bottom of the 7th here, we have a runner in scoring position and 2 outs. Chris Greer up to bat. Chance to tack on. And he's going to hit this one to center, but that will hang up there for Stepter. Through 7, the score is 3-1. Top of the 8th, we will call upon Baudanza, and we will also warm up Grantland. It's Drew Gilbert. We're in the most dangerous part of their lineup. And Drew Gilbert hits one to Cuvée. That's the first out of the inning. Next up is Gurton. And he is going to hit a single to left field. That's Okoro. And that will bring up Guerrero. Full count to Guerrero, and he will walk. So the potential go-ahead run at the plate, it's going to be a pinch hitter, Nehemiah Bevines, an insanely good name. And I'm going to make the decision here. I'm going to visit the mound, and I'm going to switch into Jeff Grantland to face Bevines. And it'll be Jeff Grantland now. And Bevines hammers one to center field off of Jeff Grantland. That is a no-doubter, a heartbreaker, a monster home run, 486 feet. And the Angels take the lead 4-3. You can hear a pin drop in the stadium as that ball is also hit to center, but it will stay up for Baker for the second out of the inning. And then it'll be Zavala who strikes out. Bottom of the 9th inning, we're down to our last few outs. Clase still in. We've seen a lot of him. We haven't seen any Mason Miller so far. I'm going to bring in Hungo to pinch hit for Bencivengo. They are platoon partners right there. And we will not pinch hit for Forrest if the time comes, because that guy is hot right now. So it'll be Hungo to pinch hit against Clase to lead off. And it will be a strikeout. One away. Jared Forrest. Ooh, Jared Forrest crushes one to center. And that's why we don't pinch hit for him, folks, because he has himself a one-out double. And we do have a threat. I'm going to... I'm not going to warm anyone up just yet. But it'll be Dave Sochi to bat next against Clase. Huge opportunity here. And it's going to be an infield pop-up. So we are down to our last out here in the bottom of the ninth. I am going to warm up Jamie Bennett, make sure he's ready. It'll be Daniel Cuvée against Clase. And the ball does get away, so that will move the runner over to third. That is Forrest at third. Maybe I should have pinch ran there, but not an issue now. He's at third. 2-2 to Cuvée. Make that 3-2 to Cuvée. He strikes out to end the game. This series is tied at 2 apiece. I don't know what to say about that one, really. Both of our losses have been, heartbreaking bullpen meltdowns. And the bullpen definitely is the weakest part of this team, don't get me wrong, but it's tough to see that happen in the playoffs. And what's interesting here is in this one, I brought in Grantland and he blew it. And in the other one I lost, I didn't bring in Grantland until it was too late. And so, I just don't know if that's a bullpen management issue as a manager, or if the issue is just the bullpen allows too many runs, in which case that is a GM issue. Unfortunately, I am both. I would consider this a crucial Game 5, and crucially, it'll be the final home game of this ALCS, so we need to go back to Los Angeles with a 3-2 lead rather than down 3-2. It'll be Robbie Snelling, their ace, but it will not be our ace because of the Pitzer injury. Alexis Cisneros will make the start. Bottom of the third here, pitchers duel so far, no hits between these two teams. It's Ben Savango to lead off against Snelling. That'll be a strikeout. Jared Forrest up next. He's hit well in this series. And he will walk, so that'll at least give us a base runner. Back to the top of the order with Dave Sochi, who also walks. All right. Daniel Cuvée up next with 2 base runners. And that's a balk, and that will move the runners over from second to third. And we really have a scoring threat here with Cuvée up to bat. And Cuvée walks. So there we go. Bases loaded. 1 out. It'll be Chris Greer versus Robbie Snelling. And Chris Greer hits this one hard. I think that will be deep enough to score a run. That's Forrest coming home. And we will score the first run of this ball game. Next up is Okoro. And Okoro hits this one hard, but it's a diving catch in center by Stepter to save some runs. But we do score first here in the third. Top of the fourth, the Angels have a runner in scoring position. There's 1 out. We need length out of Cisneros for sure. The bullpen is tired. This is our 3rd game in as many days. And that ball will be hit to the right-hand side. And most likely that will tie up the ball game. Gurton coming home, and he will be safe. That brings up Zavala. And that was a weird camera thing, but it was an infield hit. That was what was communicated to me. And so it'll be Cisneros versus Gutierrez. Again, we need the length here. You can see the bullpen situation. It's not good. And that'll be a key strikeout. And that'll bring up Alberon. And that'll also be a strikeout. The game is tied 1-1. Bottom of the 5th here, we have to warm up Ken Souther. You can see the bullpen situation. It's not great. But it's Dave Sochi up to bat with 1 out in the inning against Robbie Snelling. And he swings 0-2, but that'll be a fly out to right. And so that'll bring up Daniel Cuvée. And Cuvée is going to hit one to the third baseman. And I think that's an infield hit. Couldn't get a grip on the ball there, Alberon. And that'll bring up Chris Greer, full count for him. And he'll walk. All right. That'll bring up Okoro, full count to him. He'll walk as well. We've got the bases loaded here in the bottom of the 5th for Chris Baker. And he swings potentially at ball 4 there. Through 5, the score is 1-1. Top of the 6th here. We need whatever length we can get out of Cisneros with the bullpen. Very tired. It'll be Gurton to lead off. And yeah, that's what I figured would happen, man. Should have brought in a lefty there. But that'll be a home run for Gurton to give the Angels a lead, not us the lead. And I will make the decision to bring in Southard. No, I don't want to do that. I want to visit the mound, and I will remove Southard, and I will bring in Bennett. So Jamie Bennett now in this game with 1 on, 1 out. He'll face Zavala. We also have Pete Barker warming up in the bullpen now. And Zavala is going to hammer this one to the gap, and Baker is not going to get there. He dives, but that is potentially a 3rd run for the Angels. It will not be. There will be runners on 2nd and 3rd. It'll be Bennett to face Gutierrez, the catcher. And that ball will get away from Forrest, and that will be the 3rd run. That's a tough break there. Runner on third here. Got to keep him at bay. Still facing Gutierrez. And Gutierrez swinging 3-0. And that is going to be deep enough, most likely, to score that runner. And so that will be a 4th run for the Angels here in this game. Bottom of the 8th here, we have 2 outs and a runner on second. We are facing off against who else but Mason Miller. Chance to at least cut down this lead a little bit. It's Cam Collier. And Cam Collier pulls it down the first base line, but that is fielded, and we are down to our last 3 outs going into the 9th. Top of the 9th here, 2 outs. It's the 9-hitter Diaz. Last chance for the Angels to tack on. Pete Barker still in this game. And Diaz will fly out to Sochi. We'll move on to the bottom of the 9th, down by 3. Oh, and Pete Barker injured. We've had to pitch him through some day-to-day stuff. Now he is injured, diagnosis pending. All right, bottom of the 9th here. Last chance for us in this game. It'll be McFarland versus Mason Miller, the former Oakland A, to lead things off, and that'll be a strikeout. 1 away. Mike Bensavengo up next. I probably should have pinch hit Hungo. Oh, but no, Bensavengo says, you know what? I got you. I got you, 0-2. Single up the middle. And that'll bring up Jared Forrest. Not going to pinch hit for him because he's hit well. And that'll be an infield pop-up, and we are down to our last out here in Game 5. I will warm up Bodanza if needed, but that may be just, optimism. Dave Sochi up next. And Dave Sochi hits it to right, but Zavala is under it, and we fall behind 3-2 in this series. I thought Cisneros did a good job in this game, but we had to leave him in a little too long. The bullpen was really taxed, and then we turned it over to Bennett, who didn't do so great. Pete Barker did a great job in relief, but he's injured, and we probably won't see him again. And Mason Miller, of all people, locks down the save. We will go back to Anaheim, and we will need to win both games there. Trying to stave off elimination here, Game 6 will be a rematch of Game 2. It'll be the 24-year-olds Mike Drake on the mound versus Jeff Harden. After a clean inning for Harden, it's Mike Drake to pitch. Leading off is Aguilar, and that will be a lead-off walk. Drew Gilbert up next. He's going to hit one, and McFarland does range back to make that play. That's the first out. Bottom of the first, 1-on-1 out for Vladimir Guerrero. He's been a tough out for us. We try a back pick there, but now it's a 3-0 count. And Mike Drake will walk him. That's his second walk of the game already. And that brings up Gurton already with 2 runners on. Come on, Mike Drake. Gurton hits it to the gap, and that ball will get down. We've had so much trouble with Guerrero and Gurton in this series, and that's going to score at least 1. And it'll be runners on second and third. Still only 1 out in this game, and it's Billy Lowry who comes in. He is healthy now. And he gets plunked on the 1-2 pitch by Drake. Drake, you can't do this to me. You can't do this to me, Mike Drake. I don't have anybody else. 3-1. That ball's hit up the middle, and that is going to be more runs coming in. It is not a good feeling right now. 3-0 is the lead. Mike Drake, you can't do this to me. I just need the length. I can't pitch Reed. I can't pitch anybody. There's nothing on Barker yet, so I can't use him. I just can't use anybody. If anybody, it's going to have to be like Jamie Bennett. But it'll be Drake versus Alberon here with 2 outs. And Alberon hits one up the middle. I just can't pull. I can't pull him. I don't have the innings. I don't have it. I have so many injuries. What do I do? It'll be Mike Drake versus Stepter here. Full count. And that is a walk. I got to pull him. I know. I got to pull him. Okay, we got to visit the mound here. We got to use Jamie Bennett. And Jamie Bennett basically becomes our starter because we have to use him as a follower, and we are going to need length out of Jamie Bennett, of all people, against Campbell Smithwick. And Smithwick hits one hard up the middle. We will make the play, but the Angels score 3, and we're already in our bullpen. Top of the third, 1 out, Liddell Hungo. And he rips this one, and that is going to be our first hit of the ball game. Most likely extra bases for Hungo here, as he is thinking about rounding second. And in fact, he will round second and slide into third. Got to find a way to get this runner home. It'll be Jared Forrest, who hits one up the middle. And the question is that deep enough to score the runner? Hungo will tag, and that will be a run for us. 3-1 is the score now. Dave Sochi up next, and he hits this ball well, but Stepter will be there. Bottom of the third here, Jamie Bennett in the game to face Zavala. Our game plan has kind of fallen apart with the absence of Mike Drake. Mauricio Alberon up next. And he sends this one to right, but Sochi's there. And then it will be Stepter, the center fielder. Stepter hits this one to left. I don't know if the ballpark will contain it. It will not. Just over the head of a leaping Okoro. And the Angels get that lead back 4-1. Top of the 7th here, 2 outs, no one on. Jeff Harden's still in this game, only at 77 pitches. They're trying to get him through 7. It's Okoro hitting for us. And he will walk. That will bring up McFarland, who hits one up the middle on an 0-2 count. Okoro's going to third, and so it'll be runners on the corners here. Liddell Hungo representing the potential tying run. And Hungo hits it hard, but it's at Aguilar, the second baseman. We move on to the bottom of the 7th. Bottom of the 7th here, 1 on, 1 out. This will be Salcedo's last batter. It's Billy Lowry, the third baseman, and that is a no-doubter, and that is the backbreaker, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to go down 6-1 thanks to that home run by Billy Lowry. The closer, Hao Z, is in. He and Billy Lowry are finally healthy for this game. Lowry, of course, made his impact known with a home run, and it's Hao Z now against Cam Collier, down to our last 3 outs. And that will be a single by Collier. We're going to need about 4 more of those to make this interesting. Next up is Jeremy Okoro. And Okoro gets into this ball, and that will make the game 6-3. So we will not go quietly into that good night. It's now a 3-run ball game, and that'll bring up McFarland. McFarland now hits this one up the middle, but it's going to be right at the center fielder, Stepter. No! Stepter did not make the play in that situation. Weird animation, but it's a double for McFarland. And Liddell Hungo up next. Still no outs in this inning. Liddell Hungo to the left-hand side. That will move the runner over to third, but we need base runners. We need at least 1 more. Jared Forrest I will leave in because he has been hot with the bat. And he hits one to the left-hand side, and that will get through, and that will bring up the potential game-tying run in the form of Sochi. Oh boy, okay, here we go. Hao Z versus Dave Sochi. And Sochi hits it to the left side. That could be a double play to end the game, end the series, end the season, and it is indeed. The Angels go on to the World Series. Just a lot of heartbreaking moments in that series, a lot of games that could have gone the other way and just didn't. They came up with the big hitting against our bullpen when they needed it, and as a result, the Angels win this series 4-2. In this particular game, it was tough. Mike Drake just didn't have it, and the bullpen was completely drained because we had injuries to Barker, and Detmers couldn't pitch, but he was still on the roster because he would have made a start in the World Series, and we couldn't use Robbie Spector because we needed him for Game 7 to start, so the bullpen was just in a tough spot. And as a result, we lose this game 6-4, and we lose this series 4-2, and now we've got a long and difficult offseason coming up. Here are the stats from the postseason. Jared Forrest was the best hitter. He had 1,000 OPS. He, Baker, Collier, and Okoro were great. The guys who really struggled in the lineup were Cuvée and Greer, which is not exactly who you would expect to struggle, but Cuvée actually has a bit of a history of struggling in the playoffs. You can see his career postseason stats here. They're not great. Baker, meanwhile, seems to always come through in the playoffs. His career postseason stats look like that. And then here's a look at those postseason splits for our pitching staff. Robertson did not allow a run out of the bullpen. Shia was good. I think he had a start where he had to leave early, but Shia was quite good. Grantland, it's a 1.93 ERA, but he had a couple games where he came in with inherited runners and just immediately let them score. So he wasn't necessarily awesome in that regard. Although a 1.93 ERA, I get it. He was still our closer. He's still our guy. Mike Drake, 2.13 ERA. He was great until, he just couldn't get it together in Game 6. Cisneros was key for us. We needed him as a bulk follower, in an emergency. We needed him as a starter, and I think he delivered both times. But the guys who had trouble, Detmers, and all 3 of his starts had trouble. And then, he, of course, had the injury. Salcedo, not good in the postseason for us this year. What was tough with this ALCS in particular is that it felt like we had all the injury luck coming into the series, right? So, we didn't have any major injuries to worry about, everyone was healthy. And then throughout the series, our pitchers started dropping like flies because, Pitzer goes out with this moderate arm injury, and I think, okay, I'll add him to the injured list. And, because we still have some pitching depth, right? And then Barker has troubles and Detmers has troubles, and that just did not set us up for success in the end. And what I also hate is I would have loved to end it with a World Series against the Giants because that would have been a rematch of the '89 World Series. Instead, we'll see a rematch of the 2002 World Series between the Angels and the Giants. The Giants will be without arguably their best player, that is Jackson Merrill, but they do have a couple of our former farmhands, that's Victorian Roussel and Steve Young, who came over in the same trade. And they will take on the Angels, who have players like Mauricio Albaran, now playing shortstop for them with Laurie returned, and as well as Mason Miller. Let's see who's going to win the World Series in 2034. Giants take Game 1, they take Game 2, travel day, they take Game 3, they sweep. The Giants were the team of destiny this year. After all, it was an even number. They win the World Series. Yanquiel Fernandez was named as the World Series MVP, and as you can see, this was a crazy Game 4, a 13-12 clincher. And what happened is the Giants took a lead early, but then 2 runs for the Angels in the 6th, 4 in the 7th, 2 in the 8th to tie the game up. It goes to extras, and the Giants get the run in the top of the 10th, and then lock it down with Mr. Juan Montero. So, that would have been an interesting Game 4. Sadly, we're not a part of this World Series. So next up is to move ahead with the offseason. The big narratives are going to be Tyler Pitzer and Daniel Cuvée, who are set to reach free agency. Here are the pitching stats for Tyler Pitzer, not just in the postseason. He was good in the postseason, a 2.36 ERA, and actually 1.34 for us. I guess that's what really matters. His regular season stats looking like this: made 141 starts for us, 762 innings, 3.39 ERA. I don't know if we'll see him again. And then Daniel Cuvée, here are his stats. To be honest with you, I think Cuvée is probably slightly more replaceable. I mean, he was a career 114 OPS plus. A lot of strikeouts, a lot of home runs, but also a lot of strikeouts. So Damani Hairston, that may be a clear like-to-like replacement. We'll see. But we've got a big offseason coming up. We want to be able to reload, but that was a really sad ending to what was ultimately a pretty fun season.